broadcast for shooters, hunters, and gun enthusiasts. This is the Firearms Radio Network. This edition of Gun Guy Radio is supplied by Alien Gear Holsters. AlienGearHolsters.com.
Hello and welcome to episode 162 of Gun Guy Radio. This is the podcast that shines a positive light on the firearms lifestyle. I'm your host, Ryan Machad, and this is your weekly dose of positive firearms talk without the politics. As always, if you'd like to support the Firearms Radio Network, please go to firearmsradio.tv/Amazon, and that will help support the Firearms Radio Network with the affiliate link there. So this week I have TJ, the director of the Firearms Radio Network review team over there. How you doing, TJ?
Hey, Ryan. I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Awesome. So tonight we're actually going to discuss what 5 firearms we would take if we could only take 5. And then we have a little special surprise question that TJ came up with at the end. So we're going to try to divide them up into the different categories like revolver, semi-auto, rifle / carbine, shotgun, and it should make for pretty good discussion. One thing, though, before we get started into the actual main topic, TJ, we're going to be meeting up Thursday. NRA show is coming up here this coming weekend. So have you seen anything new recently that kind of piqued your interest?
Since, they had the big Glock announcement, of course, that we talked about a couple weeks ago. But other than that, I haven't been seeing too much coming out. I guess maybe they're kind of keeping stuff down low until the meeting, or I suppose. Yeah,
it's been, I've kind of seen a few things, not so much like new things that I hadn't seen before, but things like when I had a discussion on Handgun Radio with Alex Melnichek about the Grand Power handguns. That was one thing I really want to go check out their booth. Eagle Imports, I believe, is got a booth over there. So I want to go check that out, see what they've got there. And then a few other things that I've just kind of seen. The NRA has actually made an app for iPhone and Android that you can download that actually has all the different booths listed with their contact information and their booth number. You can kind of map your journey out. So if you are going to NRA show, be sure to check that out.
Yeah, it seems like a great app. I downloaded it the other day. It seems kind of like Google Maps. So you can tell it, you can tell it what booths you want to go to, and it'll map a pretty good little route, so you don't waste too much time and wandering around. So it's pretty neat.
Exactly. And so we haven't exactly picked, because we're not local to Nashville, in terms of the listener meetup. So be sure to check out Gun Guy Radio Facebook page, Handgun Radio, and Firearms Radio Network on Facebook. Keep an eye out there. There will be a listener meetup on Saturday, April 11th. The details will be posted up there probably on Thursday night once TJ and I get on the ground and actually can figure out where we're going to be. So be sure to check that. It should be right in downtown Nashville, too, so that make it a little bit easier walking distance from the show. So definitely should be a good time. So with that, we're going to wrap up the pre-show and head into the main topic. Pick a gun, any gun.
Do you shop on Amazon? How about your spouse? Does your mom? Does your company? Why not use the Firearms Radio Network's Amazon affiliate link next time you shop Amazon? Bookmark firearmsradio.tv/Amazon or click through the Amazon link in the right-hand corner of firearmsradio.tv. Get it? Got it? Amazon it.
All right, so we're into the main topic, pick a gun, any gun. So this is, we have 5 firearms here, 5 different categories. And each one of us, the basic concept was, if you had to pick 5 firearms, and those were the only firearms that you could own for the rest of your life, could not buy any others, what ones would you pick? So this isn't sort of an apocalyptic scenario of, something happened and you need to pick these 5 guns. This is just, if we wanted something to have for the rest of our lives and we had to pick only these 5, what would they be? So the first category is revolver, and everybody knows what a revolver fan I am, how much of a revolver fan I am. So My pick is actually the Ruger Single 6 convertible. Now, a lot of people would think, why would you go with a single-action revolver when you could find many different double-action ones? And while the double-action revolvers are nice, you don't really see too many that are chambered for 22 long rifle and 22 Magnum. Now, the reason I want that versatility is because the 22 long rifle, you can have the smaller game. 22 Magnum, although it isn't legal in many states, you really could use it for hunting a little bit larger game, like maybe coyotes, something like that. Whereas the 22 long rifle just may not serve, work as well in that role. So having the versatility there with the 22 Magnum and the 22 long rifle really is nice. And I really think that the Ruger Single 6, and you're going to see kind of a trend here on my list at least, with a lot of the Ruger firearms, they're bulletproof, basically. Any thoughts on that, TJ?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good choice for that kind of reasoning.
Now, what did you go with in your revolver category?
Okay, I picked the Smith & Wesson 617 for kind of a similar reasons, for kind of you can hunt small game with it. And what that is Smith & Wesson's double action 10-shot 22, I believe it's a K-frame.
K-frame or L-frame, I think.
I'm not entirely sure. I think they call it a K-frame on their website, but I've heard that it's an L-frame, so I'm not entirely sure.
It reminds me of the
686.
Yeah, I guess it is a K-frame.
That's what their website says, but they might be wrong because they kind of tend to copy and paste a lot of stuff.
Maybe it just because it has that really long barrel with the underlug, similar to the 686. Right,
it definitely looks like one, but it's comes in 4 and a 6 inch. I'd probably have to go with the 4 inch just to keep it a little bit compact. But like Ryan mentioned, you could hunt small game with it, and also I think it would be a really good gun to possibly get people started in handgunning, being that you could use it in that double action or single action, just to get people used to a handgun before they fire anything a little more substantial.
Right.
And being an all steel gun, it's going to basically have no recoil with a 22 LR.
Now, in terms of the semi-auto, what did you go with that?
This one kind of might seem a little unorthodox, but I have reasoning behind it. My reasoning is actually summed up very well in an article from Caleb Giddings over at Gun Nuts. I picked the Glock 21, which a lot of people would think, why not like a 19 or a 23 or something along those lines, because it's got more compact and I guess cheaper cartridge. But if you read Caleb's article, it's got great arguments on why the 21 could be kind of like a better all-around semi-auto handgun. It fits in a ton of competition categories, so you wouldn't be, sacrificing there. And obviously, the 45 is going to be good for self-defense, and you can get some hotter loads to hunt with, as well as the versatility in it, because like if you go somewhere like Lone Wolf, you can get the conversions to 10 millimeter, or I'm not entirely sure, but I know they make a conversion to a 10 millimeter, so they might even convert it down to a 40. So if you wanted something cheaper to shoot or a little easier or whatever, just whatever preferences you have, it's a very versatile gun. As well as, like I mentioned, hunting, you could get a 6-inch hunting 10 millimeter barrel, and you could obviously take pretty good bit of game, deer and whitetail and stuff like that, at least with that type of handgun. So pretty good all around gun.
Well, and with the the stuff like buffalo bore and double tap,
right.
I mean, you've got a lot of ammo variability there with the higher weights and just different powders and stuff like that from the different manufacturers that can really kind of suit all your needs in terms of handgun hunting, at least. Yeah,
and then another feature, or not feature, but a consideration is that if you do want to carry it and the full-size 21 is a little too big, you could always chop it down to the size of a 30 and use the 10-round mags in it, and you'd have a pretty good little concealable package there. I mean, not little, but smaller.
Absolutely. Now, for me, I went with the Glock 23, and a lot of people will kind of raise their eyebrows at that because I'm not known as a terribly huge Glock fan. But the reason being is my friend the Mad Aussie, you may have heard him on Handgun Radio, he has several Glocks, the Glock 22, Glock 23, and a bunch of the long slide ones. And he basically used the Lone Wolf barrels to convert his Glocks to 9mm. Now, that's not the only conversion you can do. Here on the Lone Wolf website, there's actually let's see here. It's from 40 Smith & Wesson to 357 SIG for $114. And with that, I don't believe you need to change the magazines because the 40 Smith & Wesson is just the 357 SIG, rather, is a neck-down 40 Smith & Wesson, so the same mags will function there. So, you can buy all these different conversion barrels. You can have them threaded. You can go down to 9mm using 9mm mags because you're still on the same frame size on the 23 as you are with the 17 and the 19. So I just think the versatility there with the Glock 23, I don't really care for 40, and I don't think I would leave it as a 40. I think I would probably use it as a 9mm with the conversion barrel. But I think there's just a lot more versatility there. And then also you could buy the 22 conversion unit if you ever wanted to have a semi-auto 22.
Yeah, it's a lot of sound reasoning and kind of... I know you said this isn't geared toward the apocalyptic thing, but you also have to think, if you're thinking in that mode, what 60% of the cops in America carrying is usually a Glock 22 or Glock 23, somewhere along those lines. So if you ever need ammo and you're in an apocalyptic situation, you probably run into a little more, I guess.
Ammo or parts.
Yeah.
So for the carbine, what are you thinking there, TJ? I know we had this discussion before the show, but I think I know what you're going to go with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, obviously I'm gonna go into the AR-15 category, like a ton of people would, and kind of reasoning for that would be, they're very versatile. They have tons of different uppers and calibers you can get them in. Obviously, I just get it in the standard 5.56 223, but I would also want like a dedicated 22 upper and possibly other calibers, like some of the longer range, like 6mm or so calibers, just to make it more versatile, I suppose, being that, it's kind of like your only carbine for the rest of your life. I think it's pretty versatile in that way. Well,
and you could go with the lowers. And I'm not as well-versed on my AR-15 knowledge as I am on the handguns, but the lower for 223.556 will take the 300 blackout, right?
Right. It's exactly the same. All you got to do is change the barrel, and that might be it, honestly, the barrel and the gas system.
So, I mean, yeah, you have that versatility. It's similar to the Glock, basically, what I was talking about with the 23.
Right.
Now, what sort of uppers would you choose? Do you think you would go, like, maybe in the main 3?
Yeah, obviously, like I said, the 5.56, kind of like a 16-inch upper, and then the 22 just kind of for, like, training and possibly hunting, small game hunting. And the third one, I'm not entirely sure. I haven't done a whole lot of research on any of the other calibers, but it would probably be one of the flatter shooting precision type calibers.
Now, with me, and I'll probably get a lot of hate mail for this, but I went with the Ruger Mini 30 with a scout mount setup. I really like, and as much as I've heard of the reliability issues and all that other stuff, I really like the concept of the Mini 30. And I really like the fact that it's in 7.62 by 3.9. I like the heavier round. I'm not a huge fan of 223. I know that's heresy, but I just don't like. I don't know. I like the heavier round. I like having that 7.60 by 3.9. And the Ruger Mini 30 with a scout mount. And this is the other thing. I don't get to talk about this much on Handgun Radio, but I myself am not a huge fan of scopes. I'm not a big optics fan. I like iron sights, and I like red dots, and that's like the one deviation I have in terms, because I'm usually a classic gun guy. But the only thing I really like in terms of an optic is like a red dot, maybe magnified 1 or 2 times. Not very much at all. And so having a scout mount setup is really what I would want on a short, light, handy carbine like that, if at all, if I just didn't stick with the iron sights. Now, what do you think of that? In terms of optics, what do you think, TJ?
For a Mini 30?
Or even for a carbine of any kind?
I think it, obviously depending on what you're using it for, the kind of differs. A lot of people like a defensive carbine. You might not want anything more than a red dot, but if you're going to go, hunting coyotes or anything along those lines, you'll definitely want something a little magnified, just so you can get out there and touch them a little easier. So I guess it all depends on your reason, on your purpose for the gun, I suppose.
Right. Now, for me, I would probably go with the rifle in terms of coyote hunting. Probably not. I want that semi-auto capability, but for like deer hunting or a little bit longer range, which we don't really have up here in Maine, my choice for a rifle was the Ruger Hawkeye in 30-06 with some sort of optic. I'm not sure if I'd want it mounted in the scout position or not. It's a bolt-action rifle with a barrel and receiver and a satin-blued finish, slim rounded profile American walnut stock, and extensive cut checkered grip and wraparound checkered forend. Now, Ruger offers this in a myriad of calibers: 204 Ruger 223, 243, 270, 7mm Remington Magnum, 7mm 08, 30-06, 300 Win Mag, and 308. I think I would go with the 30-06 only because you can really download the 30-06, I think. But the 308, it's actually kind of a toss-up because the 308, in terms of ammo availability...
Honestly, I think they would probably both be just as easy to find in most areas. They're both really common, the 30-06 versus 308. They're both really common. Every time I go to Walmart, I see both of them on the shelf. So I think... either one, some of these little different calibers might be harder to find in certain areas and stuff. And I guess it all depends on, if you're up north where you got elk and larger game, the 30-06 you might find a little more common, but I think they're both pretty common rounds.
I haven't had the experience loading with the 308. It's only been with the 30-06, and I've known somebody who downloaded them with fairly light bullets, and they had good luck with that. But I mean, 30, yeah, that is true, though. Up here, 308 isn't as common as you would think it would be. A lot of places they talk about, I got 308 here, and up here it just seems like you see a lot of hunting calibers.
Okay. Yeah, down here 308 is a hunting caliber, so because we don't, in South Louisiana we don't have too much large game, and we also don't have any kind of distance really. A lot of the wetlands and woodlands and stuff, you don't get too much of an opportunity to get a couple 100 yards shot unless you happen to be on a pipeline or something like that.
Right.
Alien Gear Holsters, the most comfortable and concealable holsters on the planet, is offering big savings with our new 2-holster combo. Now you can buy 2 complete holsters for as little as $49.88. Choose from any available holster styles and colors for the guns of your choice. All of Alien Gear's quality products are made right here in the USA and include a 30-day trial, forever warranty, and free shell trades for life. Visit aliengearholsters.com today.
Now, what did you go with in your rifle category?
I went pretty similar to you, honestly, because except the fact that I'm a little more, I guess I was thinking a little more budget-wise whenever I picked this, and went with the Ruger American in 30-06 with some sort of optic. I don't know too much about optics, so I didn't specify. But similar to like Ryan said, you could download the 30-06 just for different types of game if you need to, or if you really need to hit something hard, you can have your full 30-06. So I just think it's a pretty versatile round from what I hear. And, like I mentioned earlier, I'd have that AR and a variety of different things to where you could use it for a few more hunting applications. But if you needed something a little harder, I would be able to go with this.
Well, in the Ruger American, a lot of people kind of bash it. My brother has one in 7mm 08, and I mean, the stock, it's not the prettiest gun in the world. It's all black. But it works. It shoots well. I've shot several times with it, and I really, really enjoyed shooting it. 7mm 08 isn't really a fun cartridge to shoot, but I mean, it's not a bad rifle, and for what you pay for it, you get a lot of, I hate to use the pun, but bang for your buck. Yeah,
and they have, from what I hear, they shoot great, and they're $459 for their standard model suggested retail, and obviously that's usually quite a bit more than you can find them at the stores. I think our Walmart sells them for somewhere around in the 300s.
I think he
$350
paid about
around there.
$350 for his.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. About $350 range, you can find them, and like Ryan was saying with the Hawkeye, you could get them in multiple calibers: 22, 250, 223, 243, 270, 7mm 08, 30-06, and 308.
No, they're really good. Ruger makes, and like I said, you'd see a little bit of a trend in the show here, Ruger makes some really awesome guns, really reliable, and you can just beat the hell out of them, and they're going to keep working.
Right. I've heard tons of great things about Rugers. I own a couple, so I would definitely own more.
So our last category here is the shotgun. And for me, I kind of went with something that isn't, well, it's practical, but I just really have always wanted one. The classic Ithaca Model 37 riot gun without the trigger disconnect. So you could hold the trigger down and just pump it. I've always wanted a shotgun that didn't have the trigger disconnect. I'm a huge fan of the Model 1897 shotgun. Even though it is very fragile from what I hear and it breaks often, I would love to have one.
Yeah, those 1897s, I've heard of people, that compete with them in the cowboy competitions. They have to have three, one for one that you're shooting, one that's, sitting on the bench for when the one you're shooting breaks, and one currently at the gunsmith because it broke.
Yeah, it's really sad that they do break that often, but I would love to have one anyway. But
yeah,
the
but
Ithaca
37s.
Yeah, the 37 has that too, I think. Or the early ones did.
Well, the fragility, I guess.
No, the trigger disconnect.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because I've heard they're built pretty well. So I was about to be confused.
Now I'm not.
But yeah,
I'm not sure if they stopped though. I don't know if the modern ones do or not.
I'm not sure. It's probably not something they would advertise. Just because it probably it could be seen as a, I guess like a what do you
liability.
Call it? Yeah, it could be Given something to the anti-gun people, you don't even have to stop, blah blah, all that kind of garbage. But so they probably don't advertise it, but I don't imagine they would change the design significantly to add that in. And I haven't seen any reports of these new ones still taking that out. So
I also think it's cool that they eject and load from the bottom.
Yeah,
I know that was one advantage that was cited, like in terms of preventing dirt and stuff from getting into the action.
Mm-hmm. And seeing them, they look so funky because there's just the right side of the receiver where there's usually a giant hole. There's just three little bolts or a bolt and a couple pins, and you're just kind of
just a
looking at
flat-sided receiver.
It looks like a prop gun, just because it's definitely odd looking, but they're, from what I hear, they're great guns.
Well, and I'm pretty sure they were in L.A. Confidential, and that's one of my favorite movies. I want one too.
Yeah, they were very, very common in the police back in the day.
So what did you pick for the shotgun?
Okay, for my shotgun, I was kind of thinking kind of defense and hunting kind of all in one package, I suppose. So what I chose is the Mossberg 500 Persuader, which is their 7+1 round. But I think what a lot of people don't realize is you can buy from Mossberg, you can buy a hunting barrel, like a 26-inch barrel with replaceable chokes. You can buy that directly from Mossberg to go on the 7-shot model. So you could put a stop in there if you need to for your state laws to cut it down to 2 rounds if you need to, and then just take it out and swap your barrel when you get home and throw it in your safe for defense.
Oh, that's awesome! I didn't realize you could actually do that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I think it's kind of not very known, but I suppose it just one more option, so they just decided to do that.
No, I'm assuming we're both going with 12 gauge, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, they probably wouldn't go with any different gauges there. I like 20, but the versatility and the ammunition availability with 12 gauge, if I could only own one gun, it would have to be a 12.
Right, and then, like you said, availability and expense, because I know 20 is a little more expensive than 12 gauge, and 410's even more than that.
It's amazing there. For a while, I was only shooting 12 gauge because I could go to the store and it's like, 50 rounds or 9mm for $12, or I can spend $5 and buy 25 rounds of shotgun ammo. I'm just going to shoot shotguns today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's cheap to shoot.
So the last question here, this was a surprise question. TJ kind of sprung this on me. And this was actually pretty hard. I'm still not sure who I'm going to pick. I may have to let TJ pick first.
Oh, come on, Ryan. I can't let you do that.
Okay, all right. So his question, or I'll let TJ read the question while I think of who I'll probably go with. So go ahead, TJ.
So I'm not entirely sure where I got this idea. I heard it from either another show or online in a blog or something along those lines, but it got me thinking. The question is, of all the guns for the rest of your life have to be from one manufacturer, money notwithstanding, which manufacturer would you choose?
Are these guns that the manufacturer currently makes or could make? Like, say I had I was friends with the president of this company, and I could say, hey, man, make this gun.
Well, if it's not something in their kind of standard lineup, I would say that would be a little cheating. But if you're going with something that's, no longer produced that you could buy on the used market, you can go with that. Throw that in there.
Oh, man.
Do you want me to just go ahead and go first?
I can go first, but I may pick yours.
Okay.
I would go with Smith & Wesson.
Okay.
Because they produce semi-autos and revolvers, but also they have produced rifles and shotguns under the name, or I believe Howa made rifles for them, and they also produce shotguns, the Smith & Wesson 3000, I believe. They also, if it were legal for me to own submachine guns, made a submachine gun, the Smith & Wesson Model 76. It was used in the movie The Taking of Pelham 123, the original, which is a great movie. You should go watch it. And so they have submachine guns as well. So if that was the case, money notwithstanding, anything in their catalog from beginning to end, it would probably be Smith & Wesson. They would pretty much have everything I would need.
All right.
And ARs. And ARs. I forgot about the ARs.
All right. That's basically along the same lines. My same reasoning for this one, but it's a different company. I would choose FN Herstal, because they have a ridiculous variety of guns. They have basically the same thing you said: shotguns, pistols, rifles, kind of, what would you call it, tactical rifles, precision rifles, bolt actions, all that stuff under the sun, including machine guns and submachine guns.
What about a revolver?
Nope, they don't make a revolver. But I'd be willing to drop that.
Well, that's a pretty. I would not have picked that one if you would asked me to guess who I would pick. I would have probably said Glock.
Yeah, and looking at their website, you can get some remote weapon stations that you can mount on top of a Humvee.
Oh man!
If that's your kind of thing, you got some tear gas paintball grenade, or like a pepper paintballs, all the kind of stuff you don't even normally think about.
Very nice. Well, that was a good question. That actually made me think, but I forgot about. I actually just came up with that. I forgot the 76, the Smith & Wesson submachine gun. It's a copy of the Carl Gustav. Mm-hmm. And I remember reading Jim Cirillo in his book was talking about how terrible it was, but it still worked. So it would only feed hardball, but it still worked.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I was wondering where you were going to go with that, and I had an inkling that you were going to pick Smith & Wesson, but I was like, I was ready to chop you down because they don't make this and they don't make that, but they did, and I threw that. They used to make shotguns and stuff like that, so
they actually still,
you got me on that one.
I actually still think you can get the Smith & Wesson shotguns.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I'll have to look that up, and if there is, I'll put a link in the show notes, but I'm pretty sure they did under license through someone, and I believe it was Howa.
Okay. Yeah, and I kind of didn't really think about Smith & Wesson being kind of that umbrella corporation for a couple different companies too. So I guess if you want to stretch it to that, Smith & Wesson's got Walther, and they make Walthers and stuff like that. So
true. So excellent. Well, that about wraps up the main topic. There was a good discussion, so we will head into the wrap-up section and close up the show.
Ballroom jeans, fire hose work pants, and long-tail tees are three favorites among the men of Gun Guy Radio. Duluth Trading Company has perfected the art of clothing the manly man. If you want manly comfort that's trusted by these gun guys, go to gunguyradio.com/Duluth and check out the other manly essentials Duluth Trading Company offers gun guys like us.
All right, so we're into the wrap-up section. Thank you, TJ, for coming on the show. It was a great show, and I think the discussion, people will like it. It was very informal, and they'll probably send in their own suggestions of what they would pick. And if you want to do that, just send that to Ryan at handgunradio.com, or comment on this episode of Gun Guy Radio, gunguyradio.com/162. So thanks, TJ, for coming on the show. It was great, and be sure to keep an eye out on the Facebook pages, the social media stuff like that for the stuff that we see at NRA. I know I'm going to be taking a lot of pictures and posting a lot of pictures up on the Facebook page, so you guys will stay updated and actually get to see the stuff we're seeing there. So, TJ, hopefully we never have to only pick from these 5, but if we do, we have a pretty good list, right?
Yeah, right. I definitely don't want to be restricted, but if it comes down to it, then I think we've both assembled a pretty good list for ourselves. And like you mentioned earlier, I'm definitely pretty curious to see what other people think. Like he said, send them in to Ryan, and even that last question, who would your one company be?
Absolutely. So TJ, thanks a lot for coming on the show.
Yep, thanks for having me, Ryan.
Gun Guy Radio says thank you and proudly displays artwork and graphics designed by Ryan Cross of Hunter of Design. hunterofdesign.com.
Hey, it's Jake here, just checking in here on Ryan, and I wanted to make sure that you're enjoying this episode of Gun Guy Radio. And if you are, please consider going over to patreon.com/gun. What is Patreon, you may ask? Well, Patreon is a simple way for you to crowdfund every episode of Gun Guy Radio. If you're enjoying the show, you can go over to patreon.com/gun and pledge either $1 an episode or $5 an episode to, throw your support behind Pro Gun Radio like this. And also we have some companies that are throwing their support behind Gun Guy Radio by giving some gift cards and gear to send out in random battle boxes that go out to only our patrons here at Gun Guy Radio. Alien Gear Holsters have given $25 gift cards. Works Holsters have given $25 gift cards. LA Police Gear has given some bags, and Duluth Trading Company has given $50 gift cards. Not to mention Duke Cannon Supply Company has also given field box gift packs of big-ass bricks of soap, and GunGoddess.com has also included $25 gift cards. And get all that and more in a random drawing of our battle boxes that we send out to the exclusive group of patrons of Gun Guy Radio. So don't run over to Patreon. Wait, I said that wrong. Patreon.com/gun.
Well, that about wraps it up for this week's episode of Gun Guy Radio. Please remember to subscribe to us in iTunes so that you never miss a show, and please leave us a review there as well, gunguyradio.com/iTunes. Also, please consider joining the NRA and also the Second Amendment Foundation. There are links there in the show notes. And don't forget to check out all the other shows on the Firearms Radio Network. This is Ryan Machad. Thanks for having me, and I'll see you next week.
This has been a production of the Firearms Radio Network. You can find more information at firearmsradio.tv. Are you looking for an extraordinary daily carry option? Look no further. Car Arms is giving away a P9 with night sights right here on the Firearms Radio Network. It's Car's EDC drawing. To enter, simply become a Patreon of any Firearms Radio Network show. Current patrons are automatically entered. But wait, there's more. Keybar, Hellbent holsters, Alien Gear holsters, Precision Ear, and more have ponied up to enhance your EDC loadout. See all of these awesome prizes and more ways to enter at firearmsradio.tv/EDC.